Well, hello guys. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a different video. So the concept behind this is to explain what my gear was like when I started about a year ago getting into bushcraft and wilderness camping, and what I had then versus what I have now. Basically the things that changed, what I liked, what I didn't like, what I got better versions of or different versions of. First, I'd like to explain a little background. I've been camping and hunting and fishing my whole life growing up. So it's not like I haven't been out in the woods before, and it's not like I haven't been camping. But basically a year ago, I started watching videos on YouTube of people camping. I got really interested in it, and I got back into it. And learned a lot about bushcraft and that whole world. So the stuff I started with a year ago is stuff that I pretty much had. I didn't buy anything the first couple trips I went out. Alright, first let's talk about cutting tools. So, a year ago I had this. This is a Buck 192 Vanguard knife. I've had it for a long time. It's a fixed blade. It's not a full tang, and the blade is like 4 1/4 with a hollow grind. So that's what I had, and I wanted something immediately after the first 2 trips. I wanted something a little bit longer. And I like traditional knives. So I ended up getting a Condor Stratus. It's a 5-inch blade. So it's a 3/4 inch longer. It's pretty thick. It's Condor's 1075 steel. So it's a high carbon steel, but it's not a super high quality steel for that, but it's not stainless. So I decided I didn't want stainless. I wanted carbon steel. I wanted a longer blade, and I liked the shape, how it was. This is Scandi grind here along this edge, and then the tip has kind of got a little bit hollowed out grind, but it's basically Scandi grind there. Where I'm at now is with the knife. I wanted, when I bought this, I wanted something big and long so I could baton through it and, basically all in one tool. Big, heavy. This thing's like 3/4 pound. Big, heavy, all in one tool. But where I'm at now is the only thing I do with my knife, really, is make feather sticks and then cut rope or carve a little notch. So where I'm at now, I don't do a lot of work with the knife, heavy work. So I'd almost rather go back to something along this length, but get a Scandi grind high carbon steel knife. I bought more Eldris because I thought it was just a nice little knife. About halfway through the year, I really like it. I like the handle. It's got a big palm swell, so it's really good in the hand. When I need to make feather sticks, I've actually been using this one lately and not this big one, because the steel is just so thick, and I kind of feel like this one it's easier. I had a fillet knife beforehand when I started, and I was bringing this and kind of use this as my steak knife, cooking, eating knife, eating utensil. But I have since bought an Opinel number 7. Number 8 is the common one that they've been making for like 100 years. But I wanted a little bit smaller, so I bought an Opinel number 7. And this has actually become like my pocket knife, my everyday carry pocket knife. So this is what I use for food. I don't carry this anymore at all. I had an old Swiss Army knife. I think this is just the Tinker model. I've had this for 20 years. I never carry this out. And I've had a Leatherman. This is Leatherman Fuse. So it doesn't have a saw. So if I got another Leatherman, it would have a saw. So where I'm at now with knives is, this is in my pocket, the Open L, always. The Condor is on my belt. And I pretty much carry the Leatherman too now. A lot of times I haven't carried it, but the pliers. I think having a pliers is just so useful for getting knots out or picking up, like cooking in the fire. If I need to pick up a pot or something, I can use the Leatherman. It doesn't have a bail. I think the pliers is just something you must have. So I'm going to be carrying a Leatherman, a pocket knife, and a belt knife. Moving on with cutting tools, this is a little hatchet that I had. One of the first things I did when I started going out again at the start of the year was I kind of cleaned this up. It was painted black. You know, this is just a cheap hatchet. The handle, the head was loose. I went to the store. I got the only handle I could find that wasn't like a hammer, that had some shape to it. I cleaned up the steel. I tried to sharpen it with a file the best I could. I put the handle on. And I used this for a while, a couple months. And I always had my eye on this here. It was a Granfers Brook small forest axe. So I had my eye on this the whole time. I knew about that basically pretty early on when I started getting into bushcraft. But this is like almost $200 or $175. So I kind of saved up for that. But I used this for quite a while. It's cheap, probably like 15 bucks. It works fine. Packs good. But as soon as I had the money I saved up, I got the Granfers Brook small forest axe. And this thing is one of my main tools. It's probably the most valuable thing I own right now in this kit. Single item, the most expensive. And it does a lot of work. I have a belt loop. I keep it on my side when I'm at camp. And any heavy work, that's why I'm steering away from having a big heavy knife, because I'm doing any work with this. I'm chopping sticks or trees or whatever, splitting wood. I don't really need to baton it. I'm doing the heavy work with the axe, and I'm always carrying an axe, all seasons. Okay, for saws, when I started the year, I had this. This is a Gerber saw. This thing I've carried out camping in the past years a few times. I mean, it'll cut if you really need it to, but it's not a very good tool. It binds up a lot. The mechanism that locks it is pretty weak and has been busted once. I fixed it, and now I have to be pretty gentle with it. I haven't carried this thing camping in a long time, for years. When I first went out, I had this just a Frisker's bow saw, and I strapped this to the outside of my pack, and I used this. And pretty shortly after the first trip, I got the Agawa Canyon Boreal 21 saw. And I got a new blade for it. So this is it comes with the blade for greenwood. And I was gifted this duct tape blade case. So this is the blade it comes with. And I got the drywood blade immediately and put it on and haven't went back to the regular standard greenwood one. So this saw is very useful. I use it a ton. I love it. The axe and the saw do all my heavy work. I don't need a big knife. Again, I don't need a big knife. So at some point I'll be looking at getting a more reasonable sized blade. I don't need the steel to be super thick. Probably looking at 1/4 inch steel, 4 mil thick, 4-inch blade, 4 1/4 inch blade maybe. Because I'm just not gonna be, it's gonna be pretty tough to get myself into a situation where I need that, I only have that one tool. If I'm going out, I'm carrying these. Winter, spring, summer, fall. And where I'm at now with the saws is I'd like to get a silky saw, a folding silky saw, because everybody really loves them. So I would probably get like a 9-inch blade or so, not the big boy or the katana boy, but a larger Gomboy or Ultra XL, just to try it out. I think it's supposed to cut really fast, and if I can do the same amount of work with that 9-inch folding saw as I can do with this bow saw, I might not take the bow saw in all situations, and I can, you know, in the warmer months I don't need to cut such big wood. Okay, that's it for cutting tools. Let's move on to the shelter aspect. When I started the year, I had this tent. It's an REI Passage 2. It's a 2-person tent. I've had this for a number of years, 10 years at least. And when I first started going out, I would roll it up, so I would pack it, you know, the length that it's supposed to be, with the tent poles in it, right, as one unit, and then put it in the backpack, but it's so long, it has to go vertically in the backpack. And it's, if you put it in the center, you don't have a lot of space on either side for like your sleeping bag. So it was vertically and it was offset, and then everything else kind of stuffed in the other side. And that was kind of imbalanced. I didn't like it. So I ended up packing it like this quite a bit, so it's the same size as my sleeping bag. So they can just go on top of each other in the pack. And then the tent poles would be separate. But another note on that packing is, this is the air mattress I use now. They are all basically the same size, and when I put these in my backpack, I'm basically at the top of my pack already. I mean, yeah, I could shove some small stuff down the sides. There's rooms on the sides. But I had a problem where I was doing this for quite a while, 3 or 4 trips with all 3 of these stacked like this, and my pack was just full. And then I would put my food on top, and my backpack would be fully extended out. So what I did the last couple trips is I would only take these 2 like this, and then this my sleeping pad I would fold into basically a flat rectangle and put it in front. So the 3 items no longer took up any more vertical space than just these 2, because it was just a big square folded up in front. But the tent I'm happy with, not going to change it. It's a 2-person, it's perfect for me by myself. I've done 2 people in it a lot of times. It's tight at night, but you just got to make it through the night. I got rained on pretty good once when I wasn't really prepared for it. I was at camp for the night in the Sylvania Wilderness video. And after that trip, I went out and bought this tarp. It's lightweight. It's just a poly tarp from Home Depot. It was like $5. It's an 8-foot by 10-foot tarp, and it's the lightest weight they make. This obviously needs to be upgraded. They make ones that are a lot lighter and compact more, but it does the job. This is a tarp I had. I did not buy. I've had this for a long time. And this is a heavy duty poly tarp from Home Depot. It's a lot more expensive, like 30 or 40 or 50, I don't know. But it's certainly not the $100 you spend on quality nylon tarps. But this is 12 feet by 16 feet heavy duty. So this is what I've been using. I used it last winter, and I've used it already once this winter as my shelter. The heavy duty big tarp. And my dad has, I think it's a Kelty 4-man tent that we can use if we're ever going with 3 people, or if we're just going with 2 but we want more space. So I have used a 4-man tent when there's more people too. Alright, let's talk about the sleep system. So the first trip I went out was in January last year, and I took this sleeping bag which I had, and I took this sleeping bag which I had. This is a big canvas rectangular bag. It's at least 15, 20 years old that I've had. It's rated for 20 degrees. But it's always stored, bundled up, and it's old, so there's no way it's as warm as it used to be. And then this is just, this is an LL Bean Mount Washington Polar Guard. Rated for 40 degrees, a synthetic bag. And this I got secondhand a long time ago. So what I did was I put this bag inside of that bag in January at the start of the year. And I made a spruce plow bed, and I had a big blanket on top of the whole setup too. And I stayed pretty warm. I don't think it got down that cold that night. That was what I started with. And then I went out again in like early spring, and I did the same thing. I can't remember if I did the same thing if I had both bags or if I just had this bag. But either way, it was kind of cold, and it was only early spring. So what I ended up getting was this is the Kelty Cosmic Down 20 degree, the long version. I'm 6'1", basically, just under 6'1". And the regular sizes all go to basically 6 feet. And this is supposed to go to 6'6", and I use all of it. I mean, I would never get a sleeping bag that wasn't long with my size. This I'm very happy with. It's cheaper down, $550 filled down. Quality down bags are like $800. That's my understanding. But this is a good bag. I like it a lot. It does compress a lot, and it's light. It's a lot lighter than any of these. For the sleeping pad, I've had this for quite a while. Started the year with it. This is just a Thermarest Z-Lite. What do they call it? Closed cell foam. A regular length, so it's full body length. And yeah, when I first went out and it was winter, I would use this, and I would make pine bough bed and put this on top of it with like a tarp vapor barrier. And that did all right. And I went out a couple more times as the weather got warmer, and I was just sleeping on this, and it wasn't very comfortable. It doesn't do a lot to pad me. I'm sure it insulates fine, but it doesn't do a lot to pad me. So all night I would be rolling. I couldn't lay on my side for very long because my hip would hurt, and then I'd lay on my back, and my pressure points would start getting sore pretty quick. So all night I wasn't very comfortable. And I got an inflatable mat, Sea to Summit camp mat, regular size. And this changed it a lot. This was so comfortable the first time I used it compared to this. Yeah, this was so nice. So now I take this every time. And now that I'm going in winter, I take both. This has an R value of 4, and this one has an R value of 2. And from my understanding is in the winter you want to get to like 6 or 5 or 6. So I use them together. And I saw somebody mention you're supposed to inflate your sleeping pad and then put the foam on top, as opposed to putting the foam on the bottom. So that's what I did my last trip out a couple weeks ago. I haven't really tested it by trying the other way, but it was pretty comfortable. So I don't think I need to test it the other way. I don't think I'm going to test it the other way. And then a couple months ago, I bought a blanket. So at the start of the year, I just took a blanket from home. It was a big, heavy cotton, like, I don't know what you would call it, like a knitted blanket. It wasn't like big, heavy threads weaved together, right? Knitted blanket, big, heavy cotton knitted blanket. Very heavy, very bulky. I took that out in the start of the year. And a couple months ago, I bought this wool blanket. It's 90% wool, so it was only like $35, and it's a twin size. And I wanted something cheap because I'm going to take it out in the woods and get it all dirty. So I didn't really want to spend $200 on a 100% wool queen size blanket. That is what I would like to have, but I can't afford that. This will do pretty good, I think. So I used it once, my last trip out, my first winter trip since I got into bushcraft, and I love it. It's great. So what I did in the winter and what I'll be doing tonight is inflatable sleeping pad, foam pad, down sleeping bag. This is rated to 20 degrees, and then the wool blanket on top. And I'm probably going to carry out some other type of something, blanket, to put on top of everything because tonight's going to be cold. Okay, next category is food and water. So, at the start of the year, I had this cook set, which is the GSI. Let's see, I have it written down. GSI Pinnacle Base Camper. So it's a non-stick set with 2 pots and a pan. 2 pots and a pan and lids for the pots, plastic lids. And the case can be used as a wash sink. The pots have these collapsible handles. They work great. I actually have 2 of them. This is a wonderful set, except it's non-stick and it's not campfire safe. Where I'm at now is I am more interested in traditional woodcraft, bushcraft, campfire lifestyle. So, how I would use this is with the MSR Pocket Rocket on a fuel canister, right? And then cook on top of that. I've done that a bunch of times in the past, but at the start of the year, this is all I had. My one issue with this stuff is that it's not campfire safe. So my one issue with this is it's not campfire safe. So I got this billy pot. This is a Zebra 14 centimeter billy pot. And basically ever since I got this and tested it, I have not carried this set, and I even stopped carrying the pocket rocket and the fuel. Because I thought originally it was like, oh, in the morning, instead of trying to have a fire, I'll just fire this up and put my pot on it and make a cup of coffee, make a pot of water. But I don't even carry it lately. I just carry this and I use the fire. So they make this in 3 different sizes, 12 centimeter, 14, and 16. And I think that's the diameter here. But it comes with the pot, and it has like a little tray that you could fry on, or you could use as your plate, and then a lid that fits both of them. So this is my ideal thing. A few times I didn't even carry a plate or a bowl, and this would be my plate. I would eat out of this, or I would eat right out of the pot. It works good when you're alone, but when you start going with other people, it's harder to just eat out of the pot because you need to share. But I love it. Stainless steel. You can throw it right on the fire. Other cooking tools is, I did not have a cast iron originally. I got one pretty early in the year though. This is just a 10-inch, I think it's 10 3/4 or 10 1/4 Lodge cast iron pan. It's very heavy, but I like the traditional Woodcraft. So I'm not out there to save weight. I can handle the weight. It makes it hard, but I'm physically fit enough to handle the weight. So yeah, I carry this out sometimes. It's fun. It's just a treat to cook with. Do stir fry meat and potatoes and onions, or breakfast stir fry, or whatever. It's very nice to use. Another thing I cook with that I did not have at the start of the year is these little grates. These are cheap. These are Coghlan Pack Grill. Yeah, Coghlan Pack Grill. These are like $5. So they fold up flat. I got 2 of them. If I'm planning on doing more elaborate meal where I need more space, I'll take both. Otherwise, I generally take one. I can put the pot on here, and I can cook something next to it. Like if I had a steak or something, I could, if I really needed to, I could try to do something like this. That pan's a little big, but that would be doable. Otherwise, I will just take 2. It doesn't add a lot. And all these ends are kind of sharp and pokey, so I wrap the whole thing in this leather mat that I have. This is a scrap piece of leather mat from an old sofa that I've cut out into a square, and I wrap that, and then when I put it in my backpack, it's not poking everything. And this mat has also been very useful with food prep. I'll lay it out on the ground, and it gives me a clean surface, a debris-free surface to prep my food. I'll keep going on food prep a little bit. So what I have is this cooler to carry my food. This is just it's a Mir, M-I-E-R, soft cooler. Not too big, not too small, but it actually unzips in the middle to expand out a little bit, so you have more room. And I put all my food in here and carry my food this way. This I bought. I had one similar that was kind of broke, and I actually bought this, but I use it every day for my lunch at work. So it's not like I just bought it for camping. It's I take my work cooler out, and I bought my work cooler with the intention of taking it out. So I kept that in mind when I bought this. This is nothing too fancy, nothing too expensive. One thing I do want to point out is I have this cutting board at home too. It's just a bamboo little cutting board that we use at home, but I discovered that it fits perfectly into this sleeve. So I take this when I go out, and it's not very big, but it is a lot better than nothing. And it fits so well, it nests so well inside of this that it doesn't add anything to carry it. So utensils, I made this little utensil roll out of a piece of fabric that we have. I'll try to hold it up. It's just a rectangle I cut out and then folded the bottom up and stitched lines for utensils. I've always gone out, not always, but a few years ago I concluded that I would just much rather have a metal utensil than these plastic things. I just don't like, so I don't like the double-sided things because I don't want to put my hand on this and then later be eating with that and then put my hand on the other side. I'm putting my hand in my food basically is the way I see it in my head. So I never liked the double-sided. So I just carry, this is just a real thin fork. It's just a cheap little, I could bend it, no problem. Just a cheap thin fork and a cheap thin spoon. Get these from a thrift store out of a bin for like probably 10 cents. So I have one of each, a fork and a spoon. I carry this also just as a backup, but also for the non-stick. If I'm ever using the non-stick, I can't use metal. And that's another reason I don't like this non-stick set. It's a beautiful set, it works great, but you need to have the stoves and you need to have plastic utensils, and I'm trying to get away from that. And that's all I've had for utensils for quite a while. I have not been carrying a spatula or a ladle, but I just went to the thrift store this week and I bought this ladle. I think it works pretty good. This is like 40 cents I paid for this. It's just a metal ladle, and it actually had a wood handle here that I kind of like, and it had a little ring at the top so I could hang it. So that can go in my utensil roll, and I also need to get a spatula. It's a little long right now, but just roll all that up together, and then this is a kit that goes in my pack. So when I'm digging in my pack and I need my utensils, I'm not just looking for one piece. I'm looking for this whole unit. Pull the unit out. I carry everything. I don't, I'm not going to be using soup this trip, so I'll leave my spoon at home. No, carry the whole kit. Plates and bowls and cups. At the start of the year, we'll start with cups. At the start of the year, I had this and I never used it really. And I used this originally. It's a pint stainless steel cup. Now I have switched to an enamel cup, but the 16-ounce version. And the reason for that, I have it here, full of coffee. The reason for that is because a Nalgene bottle will fit right into this, right? So when I carry my cup, it is nested in my water bottle. So it now adds no extra space. What I didn't like about this is it was just a big solid like brick in my pack somewhere. And yeah, you can stuff some stuff in it, but it's still like a big cylinder in there. I wanted this to disappear. I wanted it out of my pack. So now I have something that nests in a Nalgene bottle, so it doesn't take up any extra space. The bottle's going to be there anyway. And that's where I'm at. I love this. If I would never change to a cup that didn't nest over something. Okay, moving on to bowls. At the start of the year, I would carry this bowl, and it would fit inside my non-stick cook set, inside the pots. So I would carry this. Pretty quickly on, I discovered I don't really use it, and I quit carrying a bowl altogether. And that's about the time where I got the stainless steel set. So the pot and the tray are my plate and bowl. And for quite a while, a couple trips out, I did not carry any plate or bowl. I also had this plate when I started the year. These are both GSI. I think they're called Infinity, is the series of tableware. Infinity set. So this rectangle plate and these bowls, but I kind of never liked them. They are light, but I don't know exactly. I can't really explain why I didn't like them. It's just more of a feeling. I don't like this plastic stuff. So very recently, I got this enamel plate, and it's got high sides. It's a pasta plate from Crow Canyon. So this is enamel. So enamel is steel coated with porcelain. That's my understanding. These are supposed to be campfire safe. These are supposed to be, porcelain is supposed to be good up to like 800 degrees or something like that. So theoretically, I should be able to just fry in this thing, or I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but so I got this. I don't really carry a plate unless I'm going to be with multiple people and I can't eat out of the pot or the pan. And just at the thrift store this week, I picked up a bowl. I want a bowl that is plastic, but I want it to be bigger. This is too small. I want, the function of my bowl is going to be not only eating like soups or chilies or liquids, but also mixing things. If I'm going to mix up flapjacks or bannock, I also want my bowl to be a mixing bowl. And this is just too small to do any size. So I'm looking for something a little bit bigger, and I saw this was about the same size, except this is about the size I wanted. But this is stainless steel. So if I try to eat hot liquids in here, it's going to be really hot on the bowl. It's going to be really hard to hold a hot liquid. But again, this was from the thrift store, so I paid like $2 for it. No big deal. We'll give it a try. And the okay. The other thing I carry is heavy duty foil. I have a couple sections, 2 feet by 2 feet, folded up in here. It always just gets basically crammed. I usually cram it in my pot. And then I have a cotton towel that I use for dishes. It's just a thin cotton towel, and it's basically for cleaning up food dishes. And that's always jammed in my pot too. And then this is a little bag. I sewed this together with the fabric that I have. The same fabric that I had at home that I made my utensil roll. I have a bunch of it. And I gave it a try. I sewed a circle and a rectangle and stitched it together. If I did it again, it would look a lot better. I'm pretty sure I learned a lot, but for now, it does the job. It fits my pot, so now I don't have the soot from the campfire getting all over my stuff. This is a pretty common item everybody has, is a little case for their pot. I have this egg case. I do like to carry eggs out a lot. I do like to carry fresh food a lot. I don't like doing dehydrated meals. So, yeah, this works pretty good because eggs are really fragile. So I will use this if I'm carrying eggs. For water. Start of the year, and for many years before, I've used the Sawyer mini filter with the 16-ounce pouch bag. I carry this basically every time I go out. In the winter, I'm more prone to boiling water, but just because everything's so frozen and it's tough to get to water sources anyway. But any 3 other seasons, I pretty much filter everything. And for water carrying, I use Nalgene's, the 1 liter Nalgene's. I have 2 of them. I would fill 2 of them up and carry them with me, and then I would refill these as needed from a lake or a river using the filter. If I needed to get one of the trips I went out, I wasn't going to have a water source, so I needed to carry more water, and what I ended up doing was carrying these extra water bottles that I have. I filled all of them up and brought them out with me, all 5 of these, which is not ideal, but kind of what I need to do. And then what I did on my last trip is I bought a gallon water bottle, like a gallon milk jug, gallon water jug, and just carried the gallon water jug with me, and carried these 2 full and had the gallon jug with me. But what I just got for Christmas as a gift was this MSR dromedary water pouch, basically. And now I got the 6 liter version. They make a bunch of different versions, but I got it filled up with water because I'm going out after this video. But you could hang it like this. So now my new system is going to be carry this. I have it full because I'm not going by a water source, but even if it was in the summer and I was lake camping, I would carry my 2 water bottles, and I'm going to carry this pouch empty. And what I'm going to do is probably fill this up with lake water and then hang it at camp. And then you can use water if you need to just do some dishes, or if you want to drink the water, you would filter it from the pouch. You would pour it from the big bladder to the Sawyer Mini pouch, through the Sawyer Mini into your water bottle for drinking. But this would give me the ability to have more water at camp. Plus, it would make it easier to get water. Filling up this little 16-ounce Sawyer pouch is very difficult. So this pouch, because of the way it's designed and everything, it's tough to get water into it. It's tough to get a full thing, and you don't want to be in the water, right? So you're bending down to your feet level, or like sitting on a log reaching, and there's debris floating everywhere and you're trying to like avoid it. And one of these is half of a Nalgene. So if I need to refill, I have to do that 4 times. So my new method that I'm going to be trying is to fill this big thing up with water in the lake. Dump the whole thing. Hopefully I can get a nice big scoop. Fill this up and then filter out of this. And I think that'll make it. And then I can take it back to camp, you know, comfortably sit on a log or whatever. I think that'll be a lot better. So that's the direction I'm headed in with water. That's it for food and water. Okay, next up is cordage. So, let me organize this for a second. Okay, start of the year. I went out and bought this paracord from REI. This is the only one that they had, kind of. Sort of. They didn't have just a normal looking paracord. So I ended up buying this stuff. And this is the stuff with like the reflector stitched into it. And I've seen other people mention that they don't really like this. And I agree. It doesn't, all that stuff, all that reflecting in the black strands and the white strands and the reflective strands, they don't form a smooth rope. So when you're tying knots, they catch. It's harder on your hands. But this is what I used for most of the year. And then I ordered this blaze orange 100-foot paracord. I ordered 200 feet. And what I did is I cut the one up into sections. So I have these all daisy chained for easy access. But I cut 2 6-feet sections, 2 12-feet sections, 2 18-foot sections. So now I have different sections, and then what was left was like 24 feet. And I have that in a big coil too. So I'll carry that out with me, and I'll carry one of these reflectors because they are nice at night. You can really see this rope. So if I was going to like leave camp or something, I would probably wrap this around a tree pretty high up. And then I'd be able to find it a lot easier. And then I bought some bank line at the start of the year. Early trip in late February with 2 other people. We built a shelter, and we used so much paracord building that shelter that we didn't hardly have any left. And I did some online reading and watching videos, and I learned about bank line. So everybody suggests you use 36 bank line, which is the size of the strands. But I wanted it to be a little bit smaller. I wanted the strands to be smaller. So I ended up ordering number 12 bank line. And I got a 1/4 pound roll. Generally you buy it in a 1 pound roll. I got a 1/4 pound roll. So I carry this with me, this whole roll, and I love this stuff. If I need to lash something, if I'm lashing something together, like a little tripod quick, or 2 sticks together in a corner of a shelter, a joint, I'll just use this stuff. Paracord is more for if I was going to like run a long tarp line across or something like that. And the way I store this is I daisy chain it. So it makes it really nice. They don't get all, see, this is not a rat's nest. These are not tangled together no matter what I do. And it's very easy to get out. All you have to do is undo the one end, and then I can just pull this rope. Right? So now that's it. There's my rope. It gets pretty twisted, so you gotta kind of straighten it out. But there's my 6-foot section of rope. right there, ready to go. Take it out of my pack, pull it, and I'm ready to use it. It's called daisy chain. So look it up. A little practice makes it pretty easy. Do it a few times, do it for a half hour while you're sitting down somewhere, and you can get pretty good at it, and it's quick. So every time I go out and come back home, I'll sit down and I'll clean up all my rope. I'll daisy chain all my rope again. I also have, speaking of cordage, I also have this 1/4-inch cotton rope that I started carrying recently. And this works pretty good to run a line across to like hang stuff. It's just a thicker, beefier rope. And it's like I think it's like 20 feet long, this section that I have. It's attached to my sled right now, obviously. But I could unattach it from my sled and use it in camp if I needed to. Or if it's not winter, I'll just carry this. And I actually liked it quite a bit. And I also recently went to the thrift store and I bought a couple of these fabric belts with the D-rings, with the double D-rings. And I bought this so I could strap stuff to the bottom of my pack. The bottom of my backpack has spots to tie it out. So if I needed to strap my sleeping bag to the bottom, I would use this. Right? And what I also did is my last trip out in the winter, when I carried a sled, instead of holding the rope of the sled with your hand, I put the belt around my waist. And I used a big carabiner that I had already in my toolbox. And I can just clip this to my belt. Not my actual belt for my pants, but this. So now this is separate and I can just walk and it'll pull it. So I got a couple of these now. This is another one of those straps. So I got a couple of those that I can use depending on if I need them or not. All right, let's move on to navigation. All right, navigation. So at the start of the year, I had a little compass. I don't have it actually with me, but a little button compass. Just a circle with the needle and the directions, but it didn't have any adjustable bevel. There was no, it was just a button compass, if you know what that means. That's all I had. I never really did much navigating. I would always take maps just because I liked them. And the type of map I would take is I would print something off like this. I would print something off like this just on the computer and laminate it and take that out with the satellite images. And then I got pretty interested in land navigation early on in my bushcraft journey here this first year. So I started learning about it and watching videos, and I got a Sunto MC2 Northern Hemisphere USGS scale, I think is what it's called. And then I learned how to use this compass. So at that point, I was printing out topographic maps. Actually, the first thing I did is I ordered a topographic map from MyTopo. Right? You can get, and it comes on waterproof paper, and you tell it wherever you want it to give you the map. You make your boundary, and so I bought this for like $20, $25. But then I learned that you can just go to the usgs.gov website, and you go to the store, and you go to the maps, and you can download PDFs for anywhere, basically, in the country in the US for free. So now what I do is I just download maps, PDFs. I just download PDFs. So I just download PDFs because if you're going to use a compass and a map, you need topo maps. You need grid lines. You need contour lines. The satellite imagery doesn't show you the hills. All it does is show you like roads and rivers and lakes. And if you can tell a different tree type, like a hardwood, open hardwoods, or like a thick evergreen patch. But it doesn't show you the land. So it's tough to navigate if you can't look at, because when you're out in the woods, what you see is the contour. You see hills and valleys, and that's the easiest thing to recognize. So you need topo maps. So pretty early on this year, I got into navigation, learned how to use the compass, how to do all that. I had this Garmin eTrex 10 for 20 years. I carry this every time. I just turn it on and let it track me. So I say, okay, I'm starting here, just clear my track, and just basically put it in my pocket and leave it on the whole time. So this is just mainly a backup, and then when I go home, I can upload my track to Google Earth or something like that and look at where I actually was. It's pretty nice. And then I just got a second little compass. It's a Silva pocket compass, it's called. This is pretty cheap, 15 bucks. And it's just a backup. So if there's ever any problem with this, I have a backup. And it also has a little thermometer, which I like, so I can kind of keep an eye on the temperatures for bragging rights at night when it gets down to -5. And yeah, and that's it. And I read a lot and I learned a lot about navigation too. So when I started, I didn't know anything about it. I knew how to read a compass. I knew north had to go north and all that, basically. But now I have a very good understanding of how to navigate with a map and compass. And even how to use, if I don't have that, I can use the sun to at least walk in a straight line. I know that if I just blindly walk through the woods, I'm not going to go in a straight line. You're going to make circles. Everybody does it. It's a fact. So I'm aware of these things. I've learned a lot. So navigation was really not so much a gear improvement this year, but a knowledge improvement, a skill set improvement. Okay, we'll move on to a couple miscellaneous camp items. This is a cheap hammock I've had for a while, a decade or so. I never use it. I took it out once. I didn't use it. It's nice. It's comfortable, but I just don't use it. This is a cheap. You can get tripod chairs for like 10 bucks. This one actually folds in half, but it's in really rough shape. Okay, so you can get a tripod like this for 10 bucks pretty much, and it's cheap, but it works pretty good. I like it. It's a comfortable seat, and especially if you find it hard to bend over, to work from your knees all the time, to eat from your lap, it goes a long way. I carried this out a handful of times. I didn't have any chair, and then a couple months ago or so, I got a Helinox ground chair. So Helinox is very well known camping chair. These are expensive. This was like $100. I got the ground chair. It's the one that you sit really low, basically. When I'm sitting, I'm basically sitting with like 2 inches off the ground. Your legs are flat on the ground in front of you. It's not an upright position. But I'm pretty young and I can kind of handle that. It's tougher to get into and out being so low on the ground. But I can handle that pretty well. So it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit lighter than their Chair 1 or their Chair 0, which sits higher. So that's why I opted for this one. But if I were recommending to anybody and not assuming that they are okay with the difficulty and the flexibility and the difficulty of getting in and out of it and that stuff, I would recommend the Chair 1 or the Chair 0. For flashlights, I just have a cheap Coleman headlight, and then I have a flashlight that actually came with my Leatherman 10 years ago that just takes a single AA battery, so it's nice and small. I like this one, and I bought this 10 years ago. It's a Phoenix LD02, and it takes a single AAA battery. So this was a little bit more expensive. This was like $35, but these were cheap. And my logic on flashlights is they just need to do the job. You can spend a lot of money on a flashlight. You can spend $50. You can spend $100 on a flashlight. But you really just need something that does the job. Save your money for more important items like your knife or your axe or your sleeping bag. Flashlight just needs to work. So I carry all three of these. Some redundancy in that. Okay, and then I want to talk about, I got a couple little kits that I carry with me. So this one I call my survival kit. I'll just run through these pretty quick. So I got stormproof matches in a waterproof container. I got cotton balls, emergency tinder. These cotton balls saturated with Vaseline in a waterproof container. I got an extra lighter. I have water tablets. These are potable aqua water purification germicidal tablets. So if I need to drink some water and I don't have any way to clean it, I can use that. I have an extra ferro rod, a second one. I have a little bit of bank line wrapped on a spool for some emergency cordage. This would basically just do like, I would build a single A-frame shelter, debris shelter, and this could lash the main joint together. These are earplugs for no reason. This is my hunting license with my information. So if they find the body, and then all my batteries are in here. Batteries are stored out of the flashlights. And then I put all the flashlights in here, even though they're not part of the survival kit. So anytime I'm going out, leaving camp, I'm carrying this. So I have ways to make fire and water. That's what I call my survival kit. My first aid kit is this. In here I have, this is like the medical tape. And then I have a couple gauze pads. And then Band-Aids. And most of my injuries are going to be a cut, bleeding injury. And I'm going to basically just cover the wound and wrap it so that it's protected, basically. Right, that's my first aid. I'm going to cover the wound and wrap it. So I'm just going to wrap it with tape, put a gauze pad on it, wrap it with tape, or put a Band-Aid on it if it's not that serious. I have these wound closure strips. These tape stitches or whatever you call them. A couple big Band-Aids. And then I have some medicines in here. Some antibacteria cream. Some first aid burn creams. And then I have 2 things of Tylenol, 2 packets of Benadryl pills. I have Advil pills, and I have Bayer aspirin. So aspirin, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and Benadryl. And I also have a sail needle, which is a big needle. So you can use this to clear debris from a wound, or it can also be used to like punch holes as an awl for like sewing or repairs or something. I just keep it in this kit because it fits pretty well in that protected hard case. So that's the first aid kit. I have a hygiene kit in this little pouch here. And this is a comb, a cheap nail clippers, a small nail clippers is what I meant, a toothbrush, a little bottle of biodegradable soap. This is Dr. Browning's soap. So you can use this on dishes, you can use this on your body, whatever, soap. I have some body powder, Gold Bond body powder. It's in a, I keep this stuff in little plastic baggies to try to keep things semi-clean. Carmex. I got 2 little plastic bags if I needed to, I don't know. It's more of like I was going to put like meat in a bag. I would use that. And I got some wet wipes, alcohol hand wipes. What I'm missing here is a tweezers. Do not have. And with the toothbrush, I just carry a toothbrush and brush with water. Because I'm generally going out for one night. I'll be fine without toothpaste. But the brush goes a long way. So that's the hygiene kit. And this is what I call the repair kit. So this is pretty unnecessary items. But I like to play at being a woodsman, surviving out in the woods. So I like to act like I'm going to be out there indefinitely. So if something came up, I could address it. So in here we have sewing. I have a spool of thread that I bought for like $1. I have 2 sewing needles in this duct tape folded over around it. So 2 sewing needles, and then I have 2 buttons, you know, like shirt buttons that I could replace the button with. I have the little clips that go to my Agawa saw. This saw has clips on the end, and if you lose one of those clips that holds that pin, the saw won't work. So I have an extra set of those clips. This is a patch repair that comes with my sleeping pad. I have that. I have 2 carabiners. I have a 1-inch roll of Gorilla duct tape. This is a 3-foot by 3-foot cotton cloth. It's just a big square of cloth. So this could be used as a sling, or it could be used to filter water. If there's a lot of debris in it, it would be a rough filter, a strain, not a filter, but a straining all that rough stuff out. A couple other, I mean, there's a handful of things that you could end up using a piece of fabric for. I have my sharpening stone. This is the Fall Niven DC4 sharpening stone. I carry this out with me. I have, this is a little container with oil in it, food grade mineral oil. So I can use this on the wood. So I can use this to oil up the carbon steel tools so they don't rust, you know, things get wet, or oil the wood. Or I could, I don't know, oil mechanical mechanisms like in firearms or something. I have a battery charger, a charger for cell phones. So I use this to charge my phone with this. This is the Anchor. It's like the $30, pretty cheap, pretty small version. But it usually gets me through 2 nights. Okay, I can get like 2 charges off of this. I just got this as a little lantern, Yuko candle lantern. So I just got this. I'm pretty excited to try it. So I'm keeping that in that kit. And then this is earplugs. I've been sleeping with earplugs the last time I went out. Start of the year. Basically all year doing bushcraft, sleeping out. When I'm alone, it's a little unsettling. And I find it hard to relax enough to get a good sleep. I'm too alert. So my new attempt at addressing that is to use earplugs. And then I had a couple alkaline batteries in here, extra. And a little piece of tin foil that'll go with my lantern to direct the light. So all this stuff, right, is not needed. This is all extravagances in this whole kit. But I like having it. If I'm sitting around camp, I can maybe pull out my stone and clean up my knives, or I can oil up my tools, or clothing's ripping, I can stitch it back on. It's just it's like a little possibles pouch, a little kit that gives you something to do. And the final thing is the backpacks themselves. So this is the pack. I had this pack before I started for 10 years now or so, and happy with it. Made a few minor modifications, not much. Sewed a big loop on the bottom here. I cut the pockets off of the hip belt because I never liked them. I never used them. I got ranger beads hanging on it for pace counting. I sewed a patch onto the front, fox patch, Fox Pine Outdoors. Like and subscribe. And this is an 80 liter Kelty Coyote. I like it. If I got a new pack, it would be more of the stuff you see for bushcrafters with the big side pouches. So it would be like a 45 liter or a 65 liter. There's a Carrymore Saber 45 is highly recommended. Something along that. And then you have the big 10 liter side pouches. So that's what I would get. And I've also had this pack for 10 years, and this is a little day pack, I call it. It's an Osprey Stratus 24, but when I bought it, they actually had different sizes, so it was the 24 large. So it's actually 26 liters, if I remember correct. So it's a 26 liter pack with the hip belt. I use this if I'm going out for a day scouting or just hiking, and I'm not planning on spending the night. I'm planning on not spending the night. so I don't need sleep system generally or shelter. I'll carry this. I like it. Works great. If I got a new pack for the same purpose, I really wouldn't get a new pack. I would use this until it breaks. Okay guys, that's the rundown of my gear from the start of the year to now. It is January 1st. So this is 1 year's progression of my gear. A lot of things have changed. Things are getting better, but there's a lot of things I need to figure out and a lot of aspects that can be improved. But I feel like I've come a long way, gotten a lot of experience. So I just want to say you can get out in the woods with cheap stuff. You don't need a lot. You don't need fancy stuff. Thrift store for your cookware, stainless steel. Get a cheap knife from Mora for $30 and get a cheap hatchet from the hardware store and cheap tarps, sleeping bags, whatever you got at home. Use what you got. Take a blanket from home and get out there and get in nature and give it a try. All you need to do is maintain your body core temperature and eat and sleep and drink water. And that's kind of where I'm at. I go out, I plan a trip, and it's like, oh, all right, what do I want to do on this trip? Oh, I could spend my time whittling a spatula or whittling a spoon. I need to work on that. Or, oh, I want to go out and do some scouting or whatever. I don't know. But every time I go out, what I end up doing is just building a shelter and collecting firewood. And that's it. And cooking. Right? And that's kind of the whole point, is to get rid of all that extra tasks, all those other things you want to do. Just, you don't need to do that. The point is to slow down. The point is to take a deep breath. I'm just going to go out, I'm going to stay warm, and I'm going to eat. And I'm going to let the day go by and let the night pass. That is the point of it. It's tough to get excited about that, but I think it helps. Well, that's enough rambling for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.